I wasn't sure what to talk about today. And I think I'm going to talk about being wrong because it's going to shock you all, but you're wrong. And I'm wrong. I was going to start it the other way around, but I think we have a harder time with our own wrongness unless we're like deep in imposter syndrome and that lack of self worth that hits us at 3 a.m. in the morning. I have found that when one of the things that I have had to do to get people through very dangerous situations is be very convinced that I am right and be able to make very serious decisions about a direction, right? To be right. And that's a decision. A decision is this is the right way. And at the same time, be willing to change course. It's hard to do that without riding two horses with one ass. It is more like you got to be willing to be acrobatic. You got to be willing to be like, oh, look at that horse. I'm going to do an acrobatic leap like you see in some of those crazy rodeos onto a different horse and go a different way. But in a fluid, crazy situation, one important thing to remember is that people are going to get blind spots. And by people, that includes you. So I love a Yiddish saying that I learned when I lived in Jerusalem for 4 years while I was running the BBC office there. It's if two people tell you you're drunk and you don't think you've had a drink, lay down. Basically means doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter if you're sure. If you're getting it from enough different places, you've got to consider the possibility. And I had this during one of the conflicts in 2022, which at the time we thought was a bad war, where I was executing on about 2 hours of sleep a night, which is what you get if you are a journalist during that kind of experience. You're lucky if you're getting 2 hours. Same if you're an aid worker. I can't comment on what it's like if you're military. Sometimes less if you're a civilian. And somebody that I wasn't super fond of, somebody who wasn't I think your business term is high performer, came in and hadn't showed great initiative, problem solving, teamwork during this crisis. Came in, sat down, and told me a specific about something that I was doing that was hurting the team and the output. And part of me, I'll be totally honest, and maybe you've done this too, was like, okay, this is just him defending that he has not been like getting his ass in gear. And I don't have time for this, right? I just need people to get their asses in gear. We need all hands to the pump. This was during COVID, so it was incredibly hard to get people in to support us. So we were working at half manpower. And okay, but I took it on board. Like I heard it and I thought, if I'm honest. Then I was having a conversation with one of my most trusted colleagues. And we were talking about the work that they were doing and what they were going to do next and a couple of the editorial aspects. And they brought up to me in the most hemming and hawing, and you could tell they were trying to walk out a minefield to it. And I thought, oh no, it's true. before they even got to what they were going to say. And I said, what do you want to tell me? What is it you need to say? And they told me, look, past few days, this has been happening. It's starting to get to me. I noticed it here as well. Is there a way you could pull back on this behavior because it's starting to hurt the team? Lie down. You're drunk. I had to take into account that I was wrong. That the behavior I was exhibiting, thinking it was the most effective way to push this half-powered, low-morale team through a crisis safely, was actually pulling their energy. I was the problem. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. And I wouldn't have got there if I wouldn't have listened to the first canary in the coal mine, who was a staffer who was not one of my most trusted confidants. And who I wasn't aware of what somebody who I was really close to was scared to say, right? Didn't want to hurt me, didn't want the reaction they were afraid of. And it took bravery from them to do that, right? Because they were thinking about maybe themselves, but they were thinking about the team, and they were thinking about the work we do. And it then took bravery for me to be like, okay, what exactly am I doing? Took a breath. Is there a way that I can quickly pivot on this so that I'm still getting results, right? Because that's where it was coming from, was results driven. And weirdly, that I was trying to support them. I was just like an intensive care bear. And I was able to pivot very quickly during a war and change tack. And changing tack taught me a whole new way to lead in crisis. Brave of them, brave of me. And totally accidental.